Yeah, actually hard to believe, almost impossible to imagine that something that looked like this, to me at the time a piece of wood, will send us on a mission for over 2 years, reaching out hundreds of scientists and filmmakers. It was actually Richard Sabin, the main curator for mammals of the Natural History Museum in London, that came to me and showed me that. And he said, of course, Philip, don't be silly, it's not a piece of wood. It's actually the ear plug of a recently deceased baleen whale, and actually contains so much data and information, not only of the emotional status of the whale throughout its life, but also the health of the oceans. And I felt that we had to do something. And we all went around working hard for over 2 years, not only for the sake of the cetacean family, but also for humankind and the future generations.
All right, so where do we begin? At the beginning, of course.
They're doing backflips.
This was really one of the most incredible experiences I've had in the ocean.
If you get really lucky, they'll invite you to play with them.
Como eles tinham uma conexão perfeita entre os dois.
Which one would you think is the loudest animal in nature, in the animal kingdom?
Blue whales make incredibly low frequency and incredibly loud songs.
Yo nunca había tocado una ballena piloto, o sea, nunca por respeto, pero tocarle la cabeza, solo ponerle la mano sobre la cabeza así.
Right, feel it. There's another whale! Right here, come!
The data from the wax-made earplug of that recently deceased 90-year-old baleen whale was overwhelming. It contained large amounts of cortisol, the hormone that is released by stress. The wax that every mammal secretes and cleans on a daily basis, including humans. In the case of cetaceans, it stays forever since they have no open ear canal. The extraordinary thing is that we could then analyze the emotional status of the animal during its entire life. The cortisol found that the later years of that animal life was at all-time highs, even greater than during the whale hunting years. How was that possible? We didn't have to search hard to find those stressful elements and the answers. There were several.
For the first time in more than 30 years, Japan is resuming commercial whaling.
Soon after my meeting with Richard, Japan, after failing to convince the world at the Brazil's International Whaling Commission meeting to resume the global hunting, decided to exit the IWC and resume hunting on their own exclusive economic zone, the 8th largest in the world. For me, all this couldn't be just a coincidence. I took it as a message, or even more, as a task. The problem was that I knew that a cetacean documentary could take years to make, and I felt that whales and dolphins shouldn't have to carry on waiting under that stress as humans wake up and decide to do something. On the other hand, I also knew that a cetacean film would most likely require a multi-million budget, and sadly, I didn't have the money. There was only one solution I could think of, and only one, and involved much-needed help and support from others.
Stefan, how are we doing?
Good, very good.
Yeah?
1 minute done.
Help from filmmakers, scientists, conservationists, operators, diverse personalities, foundations, organizations, and of course, generous donor.
We need to document everything, everything.
I had to launch a major campaign. We wrote hundreds of emails, invitations, requests, spent hours on calls. I also knew that reaching out to so many people would bring other challenges related to technical specifications of footage, filming locations, government permits, contracts, language, rights, proper representations. It was a never-ending list. And as all this wasn't enough, and as we were finishing the last interviews and entering post-production, the pandemic hit the world, clearly complicating things. Putting the team together wasn't easy.
Are we ready?
Scott had not only years of whale experience in the water, but equally importantly, he had a vast network.
Lots of clicking. Sounds like they're having a talk about something down there.
The challenge was huge. We were ready for no rest and some sacrifices. Scott didn't hesitate for a second. He didn't ask for roles, titles, or money. That true passion was contagious and energizing, and his friendship made him a natural partner.
I met Philip, the director of Ocean Souls, on a boat in Tonga.
Now. Okay, we are in the South Pacific.
And, you know, we were talking, we're both camera enthusiasts.
Unbelievable.
That was unreal.
We started emailing, talking about a few ideas.
Yeah, it could well be, exactly. It's like a triangle.
And he was like, come on, man, what do you think? Do you want to do a film? Obviously, if you're going to set out to do a wildlife documentary, you need a lot of time or a lot of money, or probably both, to be able to get around. We kind of picked a few key locations that we know are real hotspots for different species of whales and dolphins. Places we knew we could get to, where we knew on the ground or on the water we had a local operator who could get us out there. Gave us, like, you know, a small piece of a huge puzzle.
We should try the shot on the surface.
Famous pilot.
There's a lot of people out there who, you know, like, they're building up these hard drive collections full of stuff, but they're not really quite sure what they're going to do with it. So we started getting some really good emails back. It's like, yeah, hey, we've got this really good footage, happy to share it with you. So it basically became a crowd media sourced project.
I'll save you. Don't let go.
The really beautiful thing about it is that we're connecting with people on all continents.
Point entry.
And we're all coming together, uniting for this cause of the whales and the dolphins, which is a really beautiful thing. So I've been very fortunate during the filming of Ocean Souls. We got to travel to some unbelievable places and had some, you know, incredible interactions with different types of whales, like the blue whales, pygmy blues we saw in Timor-Leste around Sri Lanka.
Got a mum and a calf blue whale, huge mama, like super long, pretty small baby blue whale.
Around 25, 26 meters long, probably around 100 tons or more in weight. But man, these things just like appear and disappear in moments. And you have to be very, very, very patient, spend a lot of time on the water and just wait for that moment when you can basically have a blue coming and approaching, slip into the water, can't see them, you're looking left, down, up, everywhere. And then, like a ghostly apparition, they just appear, like just suddenly fade into vision, cruise past like some kind of wraith, and then they just vanish. It's almost, and they're so long, by the time you're looking at their tail, you can't see the front half of them. They've already disappeared into the blue. It's like they're made to just perfectly blend into their environment.
wildlife lens, not orcas today, but orcas tomorrow. I'll put my other lens on.
It's okay, you can borrow mine.
Another standout moment in the film, I think we must have the footage of the first, I mean, I've seen a few sperm whales, but this is the first time I encountered like Moby Dick style giant, the boss, the big bull.
Yeah, it's perfect. Remember the full moon we had last night? I know Scotty's Lycras are pretty good as well on video. Yes. I mean, you look good, man.
Like that thing is just a juggernaut of energy. It's like nothing I could have imagined. And we'd had swims with the female sperm whales in previous days.
Man, you scared me.
Yeah. Best light, so sharp. Incredible. The females are slim and quite streamlined, and I'd experienced the coders, the sonar, the clicking. So, you know, well, I wasn't expecting to be surprised.
It's good for us.
There he comes, straight ahead. Wait, Phil.
Slipping into the water, seeing this form in the distance, cruising towards us.
It's straight ahead of us.
Yeah,
right
we'll
here
go.
now.
We'll go. You got the drone on.
Go, give us direction.
As I started to like get close enough where I could see this giant bull, he must have like 50-ton animal, probably 16 to 18 meters long. I mean, he has muscle on his muscles. He was just motoring quite happily straight towards me. As he got closer and closer, I realized he's not moving. So I was like trying to hold my position. I ended up pretty much just like tumbling down the side of him and getting caught in his slipstream and just getting washed out past his tail.
You gotta see it. It is that. I've never seen anything like that in my life before. After swimming with the females, the cows, and the babies, that guy is Brutus. He is just like so much mass and energy, and you can feel his power and confidence as he's coming through the water. It's like, and his sonar pinging. Like, I mean, the girls and the kids were like click, 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 and this thing is like bing, 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 bing. You can feel it as he approached, and he was not fazed by us in the slightest. He just came, didn't deviate, straight through. Whew, incredible.
We always knew that cetaceans awareness was fairly limited among the general public. If some laws in developed countries still treat them as fish rather than mammals, we knew we were up for surprises. We felt we had to go out and ask around, speak to the general public, and see how they felt, what they knew. Ask some simple questions, but also some tricky ones. Only then we could define the script and content for the film. Science, although widely available, is not well distributed, presented, or promoted. Recent science and discoveries are simply mind-blowing. But if we only knew better how to share and spread them around, maybe our hearts and brains would be touched and trigger finally some much needed change.
Guys, what would you say if I tell you that the screaming of one whale is capable of killing a human?
Oh, really? No. Probably can it?
Evet.
Surprise, yeah, sure. That's a whale of a scream.
That's a whale of a scream. I love that. Which animal do you think that have the loudest voice of all animals in the animal kingdom? ¿Qué animal?
Yunus balığı.
The loudest.
Elephants.
The elephants,
Elephants,
right? The
yeah.
elephant.
Lion.
A lion.
Sont tantissimi.
Agora vou achar que é
La baleine.
À quelle distance vous pensez ils peuvent communiquer?
800 miles, something like that.
Maybe 100 kilometers.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Je pense une cinquantaine de kilomètres, une centaine, pas plus.
It's actually 1,000 miles, 1,500 miles. The distance.
Non.
Ça me paraît fou, en fait. C'est incroyable.
É interessante, não sabia.
You know, it's a really difficult thing to try and select just one thing that could be used to identify why whales, dolphins and porpoises are so special.
It's amazing when you get the opportunity to spend any time with orca. You know, they're going about doing their own thing and they've got their own orca lives, but when they pause that for a moment, you know, they'll come over to the boat and they'll check you out, and if you happen to be in the water and doing some research, they sometimes sort of sneak up behind you. I've had a situation where I was underwater and I was writing something down on a slate, and you sort of just get that feeling, and you look over your shoulder and there's this orca peeking right at you. So yeah, they're fascinating to watch.
They're incredibly graceful, incredibly gracious, incredibly careful. And, you know, human beings have given them a really, really rough ride. And they're still out there. They're still out there singing. They're still out there doing their thing. They're, you know, a symbol also of resistance.
Hay delfines mulares tímidos, hay delfines mulares que son audaces y que son más exploradores, tienen un carácter diferente, y eso es parte fenotípica, no es solamente que el ambiente los moldea, es como la especie humana.
And I think they have this power, they have this ability to interact with humans in such a compassionate way that it's life-changing. You know, it was for me, it is for so many other researchers that I know and other, you know, people that I interact with. So definitely there's something there that there's a message, I think, that is just for us to actually to decode. Maybe they're telling us all this and we still have to figure out the problem is not them, it's us.
Certainly dolphins and humans have a lot in common, including the idea that it's fun to just enjoy sex with your fellow dolphins, fellow humans. I've been in the water with a very amorous dolphin. So I can speak from personal experience. There's common ground.
The thing that really resonates with me the most is of course, they are mammals like us, but they are so like us in so many different ways. And the more research that's being done, the more information which is published, the more stories that scientists are able to tell about the things that they're finding, really helps you to connect with those animals in the deep ocean.
You'll always remember the first time you saw a killer whale, and it was actually one of my field research sites, and I remember thinking, wow, they're so much bigger than I had imagined. And she came porpoising over to me on the bow, and I had my camera ready to get my dorsal fin ID, and she just hung on the bow with me, and it was eyeball to eyeball, and she kept rolling over and just following my eye as I followed hers. At that point, I just threw my camera to the side and just enjoyed her. And that's when I realized that they're checking us out as much as we're checking out them. They have this innate curiosity, which really makes studying them a joy.
Every creature on Earth, we're all distinct individuals. Every whale has a face. Every human does. And they're not just lumps of meat swimming around in the ocean. These are creatures that, of course, they are aware of the world around them, and they have to be aware of us. That they come out of the water and look around, and there we are, looking back at them. It's an interesting time, this convergence.
And they are clearly mysterious. Even when you're with them in the field, you see them fleetingly. You see them when they come to the surface to get air 90 to 95% of the time. Occasionally, they will do other things at the surface, but you don't get much of a look, but you have that incredible explosive exhalation when they breathe. You have their awesome size, and you can tell that you're really looking at your counterparts in the ocean, that you're looking at the great intellects of the world's oceans. That says it all as to why 28 years after I started working with large whales, I'm still doing it.
Having an original music was a privilege we thought we couldn't afford. But like many great things that happen in life, unexpectedly, a great generous spirit came with the idea of me meeting with Armand Amar at his Paris studio. Even if it was only to talk about the project, I thought if Armand could be touched or inspired by a dolphin or a whale, maybe there was an opportunity. It didn't take long for Armand to decide. He was open and straight to me. Philip, if you and the other directors do not get compensated, I'm happy to contribute with my work also. This unique cause justified. Very soon, we were working together at his Paris studio. As one could expect, with so many films under his name, so many series, so many awards, it didn't take long for Armand to start mixing drills, clicks, codas, and songs with human instruments and voices. He was composing a unique common language, and he was falling in love with our cetaceans cousins.
Dolphins rely on language and sound communication in an even bigger way.
The most important thing is that Armand and the team are delighted and thrilled to be doing the music. They see already plenty of aspects, points, moments in the film where they will have very unique expressions, unique music if you want it, original instruments. So it's not going to be just the orchestra. Most likely it's going to be the Prague Philharmonic. So it is good. It's going to be a surprise.
Soon after we started reaching out to people and overwhelmed by their feedback and support, we realized we had built a never-ending and mostly expanding to-do list. The day didn't have enough hours for us to make the progress we wanted. We had to bring some strong support, but we wanted a marine person with energy and ideally a filmmaker or photographer. We got dozens of replies to our advert. And Cassie wasn't just eager. She transmitted love, new dolphins and whales, and was a very good photographer. The decision was made fairly quickly.
If I had to pick one encounter with the dolphins that's my absolute favorite, it's definitely the seaweed game. Sometimes the dolphins get super playful and they'll take a piece of seaweed that they find and play keep away with it from one another. If you get really lucky, they'll invite you to play with them. Special connections can only be made with wild animals in their environment, which motivates us to do everything we can in our power to protect them.
We met Jerusa, or Usa to her close friends, in Tonga while on a whale trip with Scott. Usa and Martin, her husband, are passionate sea people, and their love for cetaceans is unquestioned. Few months later, while in Bahamas, we mentioned the projects to them. They offered support immediately, connections into Brazil and Argentina, suggesting filming sites, organizing them. They soon became executive producers. As the cetaceans, the team was becoming a truly international team, with a global reach and a common goal.
A gente presenciou, fomos até as margens do Rio Negro. Ver a interação dos botos com essas crianças que têm algum tipo de discapacidade é muito emocionante.
Ele quer brincar com ela, viu?
Ele quer, ele olha pra ela.
Ele olha pra ela.
Eu tive a imensa oportunidade de ir para Manaus, no Amazonas, conhecer a bototerapia e os botos cor-de-rosas. Faltam até palavras para dizer o quão especial foi esse momento para mim, simplesmente magnífico. Que deu para ver o boto chamando a menina para entrar na água. A partir do momento que a menina entrava, a interação entre eles, como eles tinham uma conexão perfeita entre os dois. Até a gente mesmo entrando na água e sentindo a conexão que tinha com esse animal foi simplesmente emocionante. Eu não tenho nem palavras para descrever esse momento, o especial que foi na nossa vida.
Not every underwater camera person is a passionate conservationist and animal lover. Fairly enough, some do it for business and money. Others maybe for fame. Many as a way to escape urban life. Francis and Cesar transmit passion, love for the ocean. They fight on a daily basis for a better ocean, to preserve species and ecosystems, sometimes even risking their lives. They could be seen as great representative of the entire community of filmmakers that help on ocean souls.
One of the most hard moments on the water for me in my life was in Canary Island with a pilot whale, with a small pilot whale, more or less 6 months, 8 months old. People from the university called me and told me that there was a pilot whale with problems, screaming, like sending calls like, me, you know. And we went to there, and there was a small pilot whale with the tail, the caudal tail hanging. It was a small boat. Cut the tail with the propeller and was hanging. It was impossible to live like this. Big group of pilot whales, males, huge, come to the spot. I was surrounded for I don't know, 6 or more pilot whales. I send the picture from my camera to my cell phone and from my cell phone to the vet, Wildlife Recovery Animal Center. And he decide after that the animal has been euthanized. I remember that I never have touched an whale. Never, no, never. It was the first time that I touched its body. The family come to under the boat. It was horrible.
Si hablamos de momentos como emocionantes en mi vida, creo que me cambió para siempre. Creo que hay un antes y un después de mi alma, de toda mi conciencia, de ahí para adelante. En parte estoy acá, en General de Aceituno, por eso. Encontramos una ballena jorobada, pequeña, con una red por toda su cola.
Se parece que las redes las tiene la aleta caudal. Tratemos de colocarnos con el bote, digamos, un poco más adelante.
Eran casi 300 kilos de redes y boyas y cordeles. Las tenía incrustadas. Era tanto que iba a morir desangrada. Estaba a punto de llegar a la arteria caudal, que es la que regula toda la temperatura de la ballena y que está en la cola.
Logramos cortar más de la mitad de lo que tiene. Falta el último intento. Si se libera de un lado, solo el peso de las boyas le va a sacar solo el cordel. Pero
tirarnos sobre la ballena, yo avanzaba por sobre la red, le provocaba más peso, ella pegaba aletazos, cambiaba de rumbo, se clavaba. En eso casi pierdo la vida. Me amarré el cuchillo en la mano y en un momento cuando cachaba que empezaba a aletear y tomaba impulso para sumergirse y sacarnos de encima, porque yo no sabía lo que pasaba, botes alrededor de ella, esta gente que se tiraba sobre la red, se hundió y se clavó completamente con toda, y yo me soltaba y salía, esto era en apnea, y me pegó un tirón. Cuando me pegó el tirón, miré que estaba mi pie enredado en la malla con ella. Pero antes de eso, el tirón me produjo un impulso que me abrió los brazos y abrí las manos. Si hubiera soltado el cuchillo, si no lo hubiera tenido amarrado, y logré cortar de mi aleta con el cuchillo la malla y subir. Finalmente, después de toda esta lucha con la ballena, logré cortarle el lado derecho de la red, pero el lado izquierdo siguió incrustado. Pero aquí pasó algo mágico. Pasó que la ballena bajó, tuvo que haber sentido que ya no tenía la red en el lado derecho, y cuando subió era un animal completamente distinto. Y se quedó prácticamente quieta. Y empezó a navegar muy suave. Me dejó trabajar en la herida, sacarle todo de la herida. En ese momento duró como 2 horas. Me hizo un tremendo clic mental y volví esa semana acá y decidí cambiarme a General de Aceituno con el centro de buceo, que lo tenía en Punta de Choro, porque estaban las ballenas acá. Sentí que perdí un miedo, sentí que tenía una conexión distinta con estos animales ahora, después de lo que me había ocurrido.
Karim heard about the project while we were in Tonga. We knew cetaceans were so close to his heart. We also knew he had plenty to contribute. He has a vast library of whale footage and years of experience in the water with them. But also as a test pilot, his experience flying drones was extremely valuable. It was obvious to us that we could not document certain behaviors from a boat or even underwater. His support and experience became soon an amazing asset to the project. His love for the animals was so contagious that boosted our energy even further. Soon, we had a partner in Hawaii.
Swimming with whales has changed my entire life. It's changed my perspective on how I see the world. You realize that you are not the biggest, most important creature in the world because you have this giant in front of you, and it pays you attention and it pays you respect. And when you have a giant animal, a whale, that gives you respect and treats you gently and kindly despite its power, it makes you realize that you have to do the same with all the other creatures on the planet. Whether it's a bug, a leaf, a tree, a mushroom, a mosquito, or anything, a whale, a tiger, a lion, all life on this planet is important. And when you swim with the gods of the sea, this is something that you never forget. The most intense experience I've ever had in the water with whales was in a 20-whale heat run, a mating battle race where males fight for breeding rights. This train of whales passing by you, it takes about a minute. So you breathe up, you dive down, and then you watch them as they emerge from the blue. These giant creatures like airplanes, sometimes turning, blowing bubbles, trumpeting, smashing into each other with their tails and their fins, razor-sharp barnacles along the fins, slicing through the water. And here you are, this little creature, little fins and a mask for you to look and watch around you as your field of view is filled by these giant creatures moving over you, moving under you, smashing, fighting around you, blowing bubbles. And for me, when I have these moments in the ocean, it makes me want to spend my time to share this with people, to try and get people to see how important it is that we treat our oceans and the animals that live in them with the utmost respect and protection. I've had over 200 days in the water with whales, and I've never experienced anything like this. The Tongans called him the crazy whale, but to me, he was the most wonderful whale that I had ever swam with. When I first got in the water, I knew something was different. As I saw him barreling towards me like a freight train, and it looked like he wasn't gonna stop. So I dove down and I watched this giant, the size of a bus, 15 meters long, 45 feet, passing over me. And at a certain moment, I was between his fins close to his belly, and that's when I saw his eye bulging out of his head. This eye just bugged out, looking at you as if it's looking into your soul. Something strange that I'd never seen on any other whale. And to me, he was playing as if he was a calf. It was like he had the personality of a young whale, but without the supervision of a watchful mother that would pull him away when he got too out of control or rambunctious. This whale had no personal bubble. He would swim towards you. He would try and touch you with his fin. He would try and get as close as possible to me. But it was intimidating because here you are in the water with a giant and he's trying to basically bump into you or lift you with his fin or pat you with his fin. And holding my breath the whole time and come up and take a breath and he would make this sharp turn and he would come back and do it again. And this went on and on and on. And it was such an incredible experience. It was probably the most fun I've ever had with a whale. Something really interesting about this encounter is that he had a companion with him who would sing in the depths until it was time to go. And we saw these whales 2 days in a row, and it was the same each time. He would come up and he would play with us, swimming around and trying to lift you with his fin. And his companion on the side, down in the depths, would eventually come up and take him, and they would move on to another location. To see the companionship between these two animals that are probably unrelated was a very moving thing to see.
The team succeeded at producing one of the most difficult films in natural history. However, we felt we couldn't end the journey just like that. There is so much more to work for, to support, to change. Together, we decided to continue the ride, and at present, the team is producing new marine conservation-related films.